Hey, y'all. Welcome to our weekly update on Fair Labor Standards Act violations that came up with the Department of Labor based on their news press between the day range of April 15th and today, which is April 20th, 2023. So let's show you what came up. Believe it or not, it was actually two restaurant groups that came up in the news week for the Department of Labor. So how many employees were affected? Well, there were two separate restaurant groups, believe it or not, multiple restaurants. The first one, which was located in Utah or had multiple Utah locations, had 56 employees that were affected. The second restaurant group, which was in Nebraska, which had several locations, had 133 employees total, which is quite a large amount of employees. So 189 employees affected over these groups. So what exactly did they do? Well, the first group, which was in Utah, they paid straight time for all hours worked and failed to pay overtime for hours over 40 in a work week. Plus, this employer did not maintain accurate records. So a double whammy there. The second restaurant group, they actually allowed salaried managers to be included in the tip pool. And they said management as well. And if you read tip policies and employee tips, you know that according to the Fair Labor Standards Act, managers cannot partake in tip pools or accept tips in any way, shape, or form because they are not tipped employees and they don't accept tips. This employer also paid some of their servers, which means not all of them. It probably happened at one restaurant in particular, or it may have happened at a couple of them, depending on practices, but paid some servers one half their cash wage, such as $2.13 an hour. Here in Louisiana, it's $2.13 an hour, and that's the straight cash wage. And then the employer, if they take a tip credit, is $5.12 an hour, which adds up to $7.25 an hour. So what that means is the employer actually still claimed a tip credit, but only paid them one half their cash wage without paying them the appropriate hourly rate. They classified workers as exempt, so meaning they misclassified their employees, and that results in, you can definitely say minimum wage violations for sure, especially if somebody worked 60 hours in a work week and their salary wasn't high enough, they probably didn't make minimum wage. And on top of that, they didn't get overtime when they worked more than 40 hours in a work week. And last but certainly not least, this employer did not maintain accurate records, which means they were not keeping track of time cards and did not have an accurate record of those timesheets, which is kind of a bit of problem for this particular restaurant group. So now here's the big one. How much did they owe in back wages and liquidated damages? Well, the first restaurant group, which was in Utah, owed $167,000 plus to their 56 employees. And the second restaurant group, over 200,000, 272 to be exact, in back wages and liquidated damages, plus almost a $7,000 civil money penalty. So you can imagine that's a large amount of money to have to pay your employees for making these types of mistakes. So definitely a lot of hamburgers and fries or whatever type of food they're serving at these restaurants for sure. So what was the average payout? Now, granted, this is not what every employee is due. This is just a summation of what that could possibly be for each person if it was paid like that. But obviously, each person gets a different amount based on how much they worked or how much they were affected. So just as an average, the first restaurant group averaged over $2,900, almost $3,000 per head in back wages and liquidated damages. And then, of course, the second restaurant group, which had more employees affected, for sure, had almost $2,100 per person that was owed. So, what exactly did we learn from this week? Well, again, I've said this over the last two updates. These employers who are making these mistakes tend to be in a different system or they're on paper or they're not doing things appropriately. And again, working in technology, I understand that there are a lot of options out there to automatically track timekeeping. And it's definitely worth the employer's time to look into timekeeping systems that just automatically track this and pay the appropriate minimum wages without manual manipulation. Also, don't allow non-tip staff and managers to partake in the tip pool. It's plain and simple. If you're not sure, ask. You can call the Department of Labor. You can ask me. These are great questions to ask if you're not sure. Check overtime requirements, and more importantly, if you're going to make people exempt from overtime, you need to be familiar with the executive, administrative, and professional exemptions. But it goes well beyond that. There's also learned folks and also computer professionals, outside sales professional, inside sales professional, teachers, lawyers, doctors, things like that. But if you're going to make somebody exempt, you need to look in pretty closely to see if they meet the duties test and, more importantly, the salary test. They have to meet both of them, in my opinion, but the government tends to have a pretty clear designation for that too. And like we said, get a system that automatically tracks the time and keeps the records automated. No reason in 2023 to be doing things on paper and leaving that subject to chance. And that's it for our weekly update. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Hope you all have a great rest of your week and weekend ahead. And again, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll love to see you next week.